This is my little shed, okay? And now, what's the big deal about that shed? There ain't no big deal about it. But it's got kind of a rough floor in it. It's kind of between dirt and this chipboard stuff. But what happens when I built this shed almost 30 years ago, this was a low spot in my yard. And it got wet, and the wood floor had it all rotted out. So I had to tear it all out and haul a lot of dirt. I put about 6 tons of dirt in this floor just to build it up to get it high enough where it won't flood anymore. But anyway, so come spring, I gotta finish it up and fix it. This is just kind of a quick throw together just for the winter time there, so I can just have a place to come out here and sit out here and do nothing. There's my wood stove, and I'm heating it. But anyway, I was watching the video, and the guys were talking back and forth, and they kind of got in just a little bit of a pest contest, and over terminology, and so it's like they was talking about off road riding. What is off road riding? Well, that just depends on what your interpretation is of off road. Okay. I'm not going to tell you what off-road is. This is just kind of the guidelines that I go through to determine off-road not. Okay, off-road is, some people say, well, if it's off the asphalt, it's off-road. Well, that's true, but it's not true, and here's why I mean that. Okay, on-road riding is any paved surface, whether it be concrete, asphalt, oil and chip, whatever the case may be. Okay. That's road. But you also have what's called hard pack roads. They could be with rock, okay, just with rock. Okay, that's still a road. But then you've also got rock roads like that once it becomes wet, it's no longer a road. It's a quagmire. It gets soft. So it and to me, I say if it's hard packed, it's a road, okay. But then, like I said, as conditions change, it can turn from a road to a trail, and things keep getting worse. It can go from a trail to a path, okay. And then there again, it just depends on what part of the country you're from. Here in Illinois, if it's asphalt or chipping and oil, or concrete, it's classified as a road. And once you start getting into gravel, like I said, that they call them gravel roads. But like I said, if the situation changes, like at rain or snow like this, then they can turn into a trail. Okay, if that makes any sense. It just depends on what the conditions are. Now that's here in Illinois, where I live. Now if you go further south from where I live, down in southern Illinois, that could be totally different. And it's like fire roads. Okay, they call them fire roads in between trees, or fire breaks, fire roads, whatever the case may be. They call them roads, but they're not paved, and there's no rock in here. So once it gets wet, they turn into a trail or a path. Okay, see what I'm saying? You always got to kind of think about the terminology, and and try not to get upset with somebody when they say, well, off-road riding is riding gravel roads. It just depends on where they're from and where they're at and what your interpretations is of off-roading. Okay? So, so it's like, okay, it's like I spent time in the Army when I was in Texas. Love Texas. And their roads down there, like what they call roads, is sand. And it could be rock, okay, but they call them roads because you can drive down them. You can drive your stock uh, truck down there, okay. They call them roads. Well, in some people's estimations, that would be off-roading because it's not paved. So it's kind of like you got to take it in stride and just kind of keep an open mind whenever they talk about roads, okay. It just depends on what part of the country you're from. I spent time in Washington State when I was there again when I was in the Army. And a lot of them roads up there are what they call fire breaks and mountain roads and stuff, but then, like I said, as the conditions change, and it just depends on how much use they get. You can take a road like a logging road, And it can be a good road, okay, but after they quit using it, it starts falling into disrepair. It can become a trail because you've got some rough spots, and then if it keeps getting worse than that, it becomes a path because you can't get through it at all. So you always got to take in mind where this person's from and the context of what they're talking about riding off road, okay. So and it's just and like it's like there in West Virginia, they call them trails down there at Hatfield McCoy. And when we first got down there, they weren't even trails; they were paths. Some of them was pretty bad, but they went in there and dozed a lot of them and turned it back into trails. But all these trails started as roads for the gas and the gas industry when they got there and checked their wells and set up their pipeline and stuff, and your logging roads. That's where they started. So you always got to take in consideration what part of the country that they come from and your interpretations of off-road riding. Now, and here again, I got to think about this, and here again, terminology on motorcycles, it's kind of misleading too. What is an adventure bike? They all are. You're going, what? You're crazier than hell. No. All bikes are an adventure bike. If you out there and have an adventure, it doesn't matter where you're riding, what you're doing. If it's an adventure, it's an adventure bike. So, what's an adventure bike? They all are. But now, and there again, see, you have different categories, and they have what they call the adventure bikes, and everybody gets to mind like your GSs and your Tenrays and your whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Your 1200 Yamahas and it's they call them adventure bikes, but they're trying to get things so cloudy that you can't distinguish one from another. Back when I was a kid, first started riding, there was no such thing as dirt bikes. It all started with they started making what was called scramblers, okay? Because so many people take these street bikes back in the old days, and they would knock off everything they could. They'd strip them down, which actually became the term known as choppers, okay? It ain't like this Orange County thing they call choppers. That's not a chopper. That's a custom bike. But anyway, they started knocking headlights off, taillights off, fenders, and everything. And that was actually the beginning of what they called the chopper. But then what they was doing is they'd find some kind of a tire that had a good tread pattern, and they were using them for off-road. Them was the first off-road motorcycles. They were actually the first enduros, and then somebody started building what they call the enduro, and then he went a little bit further and they said, well, okay, so let's race these. They started racing them, and they said, well, we got to streamline and make them better yet. So they come out with like the MX bikes, okay, and dirt bikes and all this kind of stuff. So it is kind of progressed over the years and changed quite a bit. Now, don't take what I'm saying as gospel. I'm just going by what little knowledge I have, and I could be full of shit. I'll be the first to admit that. So if I'm wrong and you disagree with me, hell yeah, then just take what I'm saying as just what it is, just a line of crap. But anyway, this is the way I see it, and that's what I'm saying. Try to keep an open mind whenever somebody talks about a specific thing, okay? Because in their mind and in their area, that might be the way it is. But you go 40 miles down the road, it might be different, because things can change like that so easy. But anyway, so whenever they talk about off-road riding, it covers a big, wide category, okay? And it's like, and just a good rule of thumb is if it's not on a paved road, hard packed, then it's off-road riding. See what I'm saying? So, but anyway. So and it's not a big deal, but I just heard somebody, and the guy was, and I used to have, I hate to say this, but there's a lot of people out there that do reviews on bikes, and this guy I thought gave a real good, honest review, and I thought he did a good review. And then in the next video, he was all jacked out of shape, and I'm going, man, you can't do that. If somebody disagrees with you can't get upset, especially if you're doing a video or you're trying to make a video with content, and people are looking at it or listening to it. You can't tell them that they're full of shit, because you're just going to piss them off. So, and that's what I was saying. So you got to kind of disagreement is good, because it sometimes it'll make you rethink what you're that and you're going, hey, maybe I was wrong, and but be big enough to admit it. So it's like, what's the deal? But anyway, there again, it's like I always try to say, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I can't tell you what to do. I just try to give you a little bit of a different perspective, which is my perspective, which is my opinion, so that you can make up your own mind. The bottom line is you make up your own mind, because you know what's best for you. I don't. I wish you the best, don't get me wrong, but I don't know what's best for you. So it's like, and I have to say one thing about my viewers. I give a thumbs up to every one of my viewers, because I appreciate, every one of them, and they've been real good to me. I've only had just a couple of native contacts, and my other viewers took care of that, and I didn't have to say a word. So to my viewers, hey, thanks a lot. For some reason, you like to listen to my line of shit, and I'm not here. I'm not trying to do any sales pitch, or I'm not trying to make a living off this. The only reason I started this channel was I wanted people to stop and think. Okay, I want to try to just give another perspective, and especially, and I started with the retired people in mind. Get up off the couch, okay? There is no boundaries. The only boundaries there is are the boundaries that you set, okay? And you can still reach these boundaries. You can still do these things. You might not be able to do them as fast, or you might not be able to do them as good as the next guy. But it doesn't matter, as long as you're doing what you want to do. That's all. That was the only thing I started this channel for. Just try to help people to think for themselves, because that's the bottom line. And like I said, I just want to put this out to all my viewers. And I appreciate every one of you, because my channel's not big. It's not big, huge, but that's right. I don't care. The people I got, hey, I think the world of you, and I appreciate it. But anyway, that's enough of that. Anyway, hey, have a good day. And as you can see, it's a real good day here. It's raining outside, and it's real crappy. But anyway, so I'm sat here in the shed, got a fire built in my stove. And this is my little getaway. It keeps me from getting all cabin fevered. So, hey, have a good, ride safe, ride free, and think for yourself. Make up your own mind, and try not to be, the golden rule: do unto others as you want them to do to you. It's real simple. Hey, ride safe, ride free.